Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of his advocacy, helping every company build meaningful relationships with the people who matter most. And of course, the author of the latest book, Psychology, and other than Mr. Stephen Baer.
Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Mr. Stephen. Book 101 review, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, so just a quick background. I'm an entrepreneur. I've spent the last 30 or so years really running small businesses and for the most part been focused on employee engagement and customer engagement. And, as a small business owner, I take that very personally, making sure that my people are happy and feel a sense of belonging and a sense of being valued and a commitment to being there. And certainly as a small business owner, I do the same thing with my customers. And the whole thought is how do you build long-term relationships with both? That's been my focus for nearly 30 years and excited to be here to talk to you about it.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Stephen. Thank you. Let's talk about the title promise of your book. Unbreakable Connection is a bold promise in a world of high turnover and fleeting loyalty. What is the single most common foundational mistake leaders and brands make the guarantees connection will be breakable from the start?
So I think the big thing is that people often mistake connection for engagement. And so if we just back up for a second, connection is about access. It's more of a technical ability to reach someone or to be reached by someone. And algorithms do a great job of that. Platforms can scale. There are companies like Shein that have mastered that. They're able to connect with people using data and trends and so on and so forth. But engagement's a totally different thing. And it requires real investment. It requires a willingness to care, to participate, to commit. It's emotional. And it's not so much technical, and their brands do a great job of that. Life is Good is a great example of a company that does that. Really tugs on people's heartstrings and gives them a mission or a purpose to rally around. And so lots of companies, I think, don't stop and think about that. Connection gets noticed, engagement gets you chosen, and creates loyalty. And I think that's certainly the gold standard that everybody wants.
The gold standard. We love that, Mr. Steven. We hear so much about employee management and customer satisfaction. How is the goal of psychology creating a bond that makes people want to stay for life? Qualitatively different, and why does the distinction matter?
Well, so the first thing is I think to think about why aren't people sticking around?
Yes, why?
And so I really look at an engagement deficit as the main problem, right? And it's silently killing a lot of our businesses. People have every tool available to them to facilitate connection. And at the same time, people have never felt more disconnected from one another. Customers switch brands, employees are quitting managers, loyalty is evaporating. And when you look at the impact it's having, you're seeing that there's $8.8 trillion lost every year across different industries due to disengagement, and even more erosion and trust and belief and belonging that's not there, right? So I think that's the problem that people are facing. And then I think then really what companies are thinking about is how do they create those emotional connections with their customers or with their employees? And that takes work, right? It takes work to connect with people. You can't just do it through like loud marketing or better targeting or more personalization to customers. And you can't just do it, through a poster on the wall to employees. You need to not just have access to them, but you need to be able to deliver on the emotional connection that any audience, employee or customer is yearning for. You need to have intentional design to make people feel seen and valued and heard and proud that they chose you either to work there or proud that they chose you to buy from you. And the companies that do that really successfully see much higher purchase rates. They see much longer longevity of employees staying there. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Very well said, Mr. Stephen. As it hard, what come human need, like beyond transactional benefit, does building a sticky connection actually fulfill for the employee or customers?
So, well, for customers, I think that it comes down to what that experience is, right? And I talk a lot about like the experience economy, and so for me that is really about making, as I was just talking about, people feel seen, and that every interaction with you is really special, right?
Hmm.
We've all had really forgettable or frustrating brand experiences, or broken promises, or clunky processes. Um, Companies that do that just doesn't sit right with us, and most brands live there, right? But once in a while, you find brands that will surprise you and remove that friction, or um, add some humanity to the experience, make you feel taken care of. Um, that's the experience economy that I'm talking about. And like, we think about some examples from the customer experience. Warby Parker's a great example, right? Um,
Hmm.
they don't just sell glasses, right? They sell a real amazing experience. They've turned an inconvenient, somewhat anxiety-filled experience into more of an enjoyable experience that you can do at home for free. Different try-ons. They have very transparent pricing. They have a clear social mission, which I think a lot of customers can get around. And they're not winning by being cheaper. They're winning by delivering a better experience. Or another good example is Trader Joe's. Totally different category, right? But if you think about, if you've ever been into a Trader Joe's, they have these friendly crews. They have curated products. They have playful language. The store experience feels a lot more human instead of transactional. And you don't just stop at Trader Joe's because it has everything, because it certainly doesn't. But you shop there because it feels good to be part of that community, right? And it feels like it
Yes.
belongs into your purchasing experience. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, Mr. Stephen. The book likely challenged leaders to look inward. What is the first and often most difficult belief about control, transparency, or vulnerability that the leader has to dismantle in themselves to even begin practicing psychology?
Yeah. So, it's funny. I think that so many companies don't focus on that, right? They focus on, hey, what are the perks that we can deliver to our employees that on the surface look really good, right? Because it's a
Yes.
lot easier to add free snacks or a ping pong table or wellness apps than it is to fixing leadership requirements, or reflecting on what you can do, or changing the behavior of your managers, or having the courage to do that, right? Um,
Hmm.
and to your very point, the the number one driver in workplace happiness, and I've seen this across many studies, it is really understanding, feeling genuinely appreciated at work, and as though you have a coach or um, or a manager behind you that's really going to have your back. And people, what do they say? They just say that people don't leave companies; they leave managers, right?
Hmm.
And you certainly don't leave a company because it ran out of kombucha in the kitchen, right? So I think stepping back and thinking about, how do you build great management? How do you managers? Uh, Gary Ridge, the now former CEO and chairman emeritus for WD-40, um, is well known for talking about not having any managers in an organization, but having coaches. And and he specifically calls them coaches because you don't want someone standing over your back, potentially critiquing the stuff you've done. You want someone sitting next to you, helping you get to the next stage of your career, right? And so that's a really important component of any organization. And that falls into like the servant leadership category. And the companies that get their heads around that and prioritize that are the ones that are winning. And you can see it, by the way. If you look at the best places to work studies, the three stats that I talk about all the time. The first one is the companies that are focused on great leadership, servant leadership, and really improving their employee experience. Number one, they have 1/3 the amount of turnover of their competitors. Number two, they have 8 times more revenue per employee than their competitors. And number three, they're outpacing the S&P by 3.5 times. So, to me, it's like a no-brainer. You look at that and say, if that's what we're going to prioritize, is servant leadership, great coaching, and really advancing our people, we're going to win in the long run.
Definitely, we will win for that psychology. So, Mr. Steven, if you had to distill the psychology framework into 3 non-negotiable pillars or phrases, what would they be?
So, when I look at what I call the forever framework, I actually have five components in there.
Okay.
The first one is identity. And by the way, all 5 of these I see as components that really drive great cultures across a variety of industries. So the first one is identity. Employees engage with managers, and customers engage with companies that reflect who they are and what they want to become, right? So we should always ask ourselves, what does this decision say about my employee or my customer? And making sure that it's no longer transactional, but that person can be seen in the outcome of that decision. So that's identity. Number 2, belonging. Belonging is really not just about being included, it's about being missed. So we should always strive to be the person or the employee that our customer or employee rather will notice if we weren't there. Check in, follow up, show that you care. And if you really prioritize that and you prioritize them, they're going to have a sense of belonging and they're going to have a sense that you have their back. Number 3 is contribution. People engage when they feel that their actions matter to someone else, right? So we want to make sure that your employees and your customers feel like they're a partner. They're not just a passenger. We want to ask for their input. We want to explain the why behind our recommendations. And we want to let them co-own the process instead of just, being there for ride along, right?
Yes,
Number 4
definitely.
is recognition. And when we think about employees, so many companies focus on, well, we'll do recognition during your annual review. And really what you need to be doing is you need to be doing that real time. No one wants to be told how they can do better once a year or what they've done well once a year. They want to have a relationship with their manager. And by the way, customers want the same thing, right? So you want to make sure that you're thanking them, whether they're employees or their customers. You want to be thoughtful about that. You want to be responsive. You want to be showing appreciation, for every contribution that they make or every interaction they have. And the final one is progress. And the reality is this, that people stay engaged when the relationship is making them feel better, more capable, more confident. That's the glue. And so, identity, belonging, contribution, recognition, progress. And if you can focus on all those, that's when you succeed.
Definitely. Totally agree with you, Mr. Steven. You talk about building connection for life. How does a leader or brand strategically and appropriately use vulnerability, sharing challenges, or admitting mistakes, not a sign of weakness, but as a powerful bonding agent?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've heard so many people talk about What we want in leaders and what we want in companies is them to be real. We want them to be authentic. We want them to be transparent. And let's be real, that looks messy, right? And a lot of companies, a lot of leaders aren't comfortable with messiness, but we can relate to messiness because that's life. And so I mention that because that takes vulnerability. That means showing up and admitting when you've done something wrong, or when you could have done something better, or when the strategy isn't correct. And when you're that vulnerable, that transparent, that real, that's when your people or your customers really say, I can believe in this person because they're the real deal. And I think that the more that organizations can focus on that leaders can focus on that, and not look at mistakes as mistakes, but look at them as learning moments, that's when everyone moves forward in a very positive way.
In a positive way. So, Mr. Stephen, as an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Say again, sorry.
What are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short-term and long-term goals, they actually are one and the same. Is to surround myself by amazing people. It's to learn from those people around me, whether they are fresh out of college or 20 years my senior. And the last thing is to figure out what my contribution as a leader, as a service provider, as a community member is to making them and their experience a richer experience. And if we could all contribute in that same way, not only would our companies be better and our brand experiences be better and our communities be better, but just the society that we live in would be better. And I think we could all agree that right now we could use a little more of that.
Yes, definitely. And good luck to your goals, Mr. Steven, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, I think that ultimately, if you care about the people around you, it's really one, being vulnerable, being open-minded, being transparent, and doing your best to really reflect on how you can make them better and they can make you better. And that's when people start to not just having connection with each other, but they engage with each other. They have real conversations, real relationships, and that's when things start to glue together. One more analogy, if you don't mind.
Yes,
I've been thinking about, as I landed for Stickology on the concept of glue. I was thinking about, well, what are all the other adhesives that one can use? And the probably the best example I could come up that I almost went with was Velcro. Velcro is really easy. It's really easy to adhere. It's really easy to put in place, but it also is really easy to take apart. It's fast on and it's fast off, but that's not what we want, right? We want long-term relationships. We want long, successful relationships. And so, yeah, they take a little bit of work. So does glue. Glue takes some time to bond. It takes some time to dry, but it also sticks. And that's what we really want. We want those relationships where, whether they're our employees or our customers, they feel like they have a real bond with us that took time and commitment and effort, but works.
That works. Yes, we love that. We love that, Mr. Steven, and thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, I really like Barry Chapman's Everybody Matters. Bob Chapman. I'm sorry. Bob Chapman, Everybody Matters, and he's the CEO of Barry Wehmiller, and another great organization that really focuses on servant leadership, that focuses on really prioritizing their people. He talks about in the book, and he talks about just period, how everyone who works there, everyone who is in his orbit, is someone else's precious child. and how important it is for leaders to be the stewards of those lives for the 40 hours that those people are in their care. And to me, that speaks volume about the responsibility of leaders and the responsibility of companies to really serve their people. And when they serve their people, everything happens in reverse as well. Those people serve the company.
Well, thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Stephen. And let's talk about the lasting impact and legacy. Beyond better business metrics, what is the personal transformation you've seen in leaders who fully embrace this philosophy? How does it change how they see their role?
Yeah, I think that, it goes back to the people going from the role of a manager to people going to the role of a coach. Another thing that I adamantly believe is that right now across organizations, we have great individual contributors who are put into manager roles, but they're not taught how to be great managers. And when the companies take the opportunity to do that, not only can they contribute to the organization as an individual contributor, but they can move there and help dozens or hundreds of people be great individual contributors if they're a good coach. And when they do that, their impact is tenfold. So that's I think the thing that is probably the most rewarding to somebody when taught properly how to do that and how to have that impact on their people.
Very well said, Mr. Stephen. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 6th season, abstract poetry in 3rd season, and of course my book 101 review in 6th season as well, comedy 101 in 3rd season, and my food 101 in 6th season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are 5th season, science 101, text 101 4th season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and of course my Bible verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Stephen, tell us, if you could have every listener walk away and do just one thing tomorrow to start applying psychology, whether they are CEO or individual contributor, what would the single powerful action be?
I think it is to look at those around you, whether they be your employees or they be your customers, and think about, how can I serve that individual? And when you do, really think about, what could the outcome be? It's not just about getting the next sale or getting an employee to be more satisfied for that moment. It's about growing that individual and growing that relationship. And that's what we all want to do, because we're all richer when we are.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. So, Mr. Stephen Baer, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world through psychology. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever project that you're doing right now?
Please check it out. Psychology is available on Amazon or anywhere you buy books. I hope you can read it, and I hope it has an impact. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Stephen Baer, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering psychology will rise. And I'm inviting you, Mr. Stephen, to my other podcast, Entrepreneurship 101, and let's talk about entrepreneurship mindset. Okay, yes. So, Maricon people, see you soon.